So as you can see, it's foggy this morning. I don't know if that has any actual like weather implications scientifically, but the forecast for later this afternoon is scattered showers and possibly thunderstorms, which I'm not excited about. I haven't tried my tarp and bivy setup in the rain actually yet, and I haven't set it up in rain, so I'm not really worried about the rain. I just don't like wind because it flaps the tarp about, and I'm always like in my head thinking about, is my stakes gonna come up, etc. So crossing my fingers that just a couple light showers if anything, and I'll either be set up by the time it starts to rain, or it'll just wait until after I'm set up. So I'm doing about 4.5 miles, bonus miles you could call, because couldn't find any ride from Okeechobee back to the bridge. Contacted every trail angel on the list, and even a couple of volunteers and Uber drivers and stuff that I found on Far Out or somewhere else, and everybody was busy. Nobody could do a shuttle, and I had tried contacting people since like when I was at the Dollar General. So I've had real bad luck trying to get rides on the Florida Trail. The first experience was at the kickoff event, trying to find a ride from Miami to there, and then this time and like I said, this is only a 5-mile drive, so I can kind of understand people not being able to or wanting to, drive Miami 2 hours out to the kickoff event. But I just kind of figured if you're on the Trail Angel list, you expect those kinds of requests. For all I know, it's not the Trail Angel's fault, and it's the person that made that list, because in the process of calling those people, I found out that one person on there is retired and is not really a Trail Angel anymore, and another one has the wrong phone number. Like the main director of the kickoff event, his name's Ari, and he lives in the Okeechobee area according to that list, and he has his phone number on there. So I called him and sent him a text message, and the person got back to me and said, yeah, I'm not Ari, I live in Tampa. And I don't know if they meant that they are a Trail Angel, used to be a Trail Angel. They acknowledge, yeah, I don't have Ari's number, and there's a mistake on that list. So either way, maybe some of these people I'm contacting on there are no longer Trail Angels, or maybe they specified I don't do shuttles, but nobody put that on the notes. I don't know. So, but it's kind of the only resource you have out here to go off of, so I tried. I just kind of figured that maybe this is my penance for road walking the last day and getting a golf cart ride and a free ride to Okeechobee. Or maybe God is trying to slow me down for later, so I don't camp in a crazy thunderstorm or have a tree fall on me while I'm sleeping. Who knows? So I tried to get an earlier start today just to be able to kind of compensate for that, and I left the hotel about like 5:40 and been hiking for an hour at 6:47. So I got my new shoes on. They definitely feel a lot different. they feel tighter. Those Crocs are pretty loose. I've also noticed that the way I walk is really different. I almost kind of shuffled with the Crocs because I think they're kind of like a zero drop shoe, at least in the way that they change the way your gait and your step is. So I noticed that I could only walk about 2.5 miles an hour with those Crocs, and these shoes I'm easily walking 3 miles an hour plus. So I'm walking faster. I can tell I'm walking differently, which I do feel a little bit of, like I said, tightness around the right side of my right foot, and I think it's just the process of breaking them in. I'm hoping that they'll be fine in a couple days and they don't give me any new blisters or anything. But I did keep the Crocs. I got them strapped to my backpack just in case these tear my feet up or whatever, and maybe I use them as a shower shoe. But if these end up working out, I might just donate those to a hiker box or something, or maybe mail them home and use them somewhere else. I don't know yet. It's also a little bit unfortunate that I got such an early start and that it's so foggy this morning. I couldn't see anything on this side. This is the lake side. And when I started there, it's hard to see obviously, but it looked like there was a beach and you could hear the waves kind of hitting the shore. So it would have been cool to like actually get to see that, or even go down there and look at it, stand on the beach, etc. But like I said, I couldn't even see probably 100, 200 feet. That's about where the water was. So I don't think I'll get any. I might get a view down here at the Kissimmee River Bridge where I turn off. We'll have to see, but for now I'm just getting kind of early morning views of backside of these RV parks with all their people's lights and boats and stuff. I'll definitely say this: I'm really glad I'm back to walking on this stupid dike. Over there road walking. Is that road? I mean, it was basically a sidewalk once you got past Dollar General, so it wouldn't have been that bad. But before that, it was about 6 miles of terrible road walking, and then before that, it was like 9 miles of not so great road walking. So from the hotel to this, it was only like maybe a mile or less. And yeah, this is just so much nicer not having to have cars whizzing past you 70 miles an hour. So I think that's one thing that every new trail kind of does, is puts things in this perspective that you didn't really realize before. When I went on the Arizona trail after the AT, my perception of water sources and campsites really changed, because those two things are drastically different from each other on those trails. And then out here, it kind of teaches you, I guess, that you might, and I think every trail has like one major downside that you have to deal with pretty much every day. The AT, it's the up and down elevation. That's what makes that trail so difficult. This one, I think, would be the road walking / asphalt, pavement, all that kind of stuff. And I think in order to keep yourself sane, you have to look at the bright side of those things. Because if you focus on the negative, you'll just hate the trail, you'll want to quit, you'll be in a bad mood all day, like I was yesterday. So yes, it sucks to walk on new roads and asphalt, but this is not next to traffic, so that's a win. It's also flat, so that's a win. It's also paved, so it's easy to walk on, at least quickly, so you can make fast miles. And it is relatively close to civilization, so if you need to go to an RV park, or if you need to stop at a gas station or a Dollar General, you know, you can do that. It's not probably technically on the trail, but you can get to those things from the trail. And you don't have to hitch in or you know, do these long extended food carries if you don't really want to. So I'm trying to focus on that kind of stuff, positive stuff about the road walks, and then, you know, adapt to it, and it makes you a better hiker. Like when I went back to the AT for a section hike, I was so much better about water management, dry camping, finding workable campsites, because doing that in Arizona was really difficult. Like if you skipped one spot for one tent, it might be 5 miles before you saw another one. On the AT, you can kind of camp almost anywhere. And the part that makes you a better hiker is figuring out how to overcome these difficulties. So for one thing, I think it's learning that, you know, if you're gonna do a lot of road walking, buy road walking shoes. You don't really need trail runners. You don't need like zero drop minimal road running shoes. You don't need big hiking boots, etc. And then also figuring out maybe, well, try a different insole than you typically would, maybe something with more cushion. You know, figuring out that situation, but also maybe you learn a couple stretches to deal with Achilles pain or whatever your issue is, or you become better at dealing with blisters and how to take care of them, how to prevent them. Maybe you try different sock combinations or material, or you could also have some kind of routine at the end of the day, like where you roll your feet out. I usually like to try to soak my feet like in the stream to reduce swelling. That's hard to do out here because there's not really any cold streams, and if you dangle your feet in some water, you might come back missing one of them. So, but I think in the process of learning to deal with that difficulty day after day after day, like I said, you get experience, you become a better hiker, and then when you go to another trail, that you don't have to deal with that difficulty every day, all day. Like if I go back to the AT and there's not a whole bunch of road walking, if you encounter road walking, it doesn't feel as bad, and you can also deal with it a lot better because you learn those skills already. And as well, the skills that you learn sometimes can bleed over into other situations. So you might have foot soreness and stuff, and skills that you learn to take care of your feet from all this road walking, but it could also just apply like if you're walking through a lot of water and you get blisters from that, or if you're walking up and down steep terrain and you get, you know, Achilles tendonitis, or you get like knee pain or something. Some of the skills that you learn to deal with things from the other trails that you've done can help you become a better hiker in other situations that you don't really realize yet. So it sucks to go through it, but I think it's just part of the process of becoming a better hiker. This is one of the signboards right before you get off of this Lake Okeechobee section, and it talks about something called the Everglades Trail, which I've never heard of. I don't think that that is a long distance trail. My guess is it's kind of a loose collection of what sounds like state parks and wildlife areas that you can visit in kind of a trail-like continuous road trip or something, but I'll have to look more into that because I'm guessing some of it probably follows a lot of like the Florida Trail, but there were parts of that extended past what is actually on the Florida Trail down in the Everglades, so something to check out. There's the signboard I just left back there, across this street, and then you follow it. You're not gonna be able to see it in this fog, but like right through here, the road goes up and the bridge is like somewhere over there. So that's where I got a ride yesterday. And we are officially heading into the Kissimmee River section of trail. And we are walking away from Lake Okeechobee. I think there will still be like a trail like this, gravel and stuff. But one of my friends said that about 16 miles from here, the trail gets really nice. So I think it's going to be more wooded, and it's going to have more of a dirt trail and better campsites. And for the first time in a long time, I think we'll actually be able to drink the water that we find, at least in sections. So I haven't used my water filter since Big Cypress. It's all water caches and spigots from RV parks. I think part of becoming a better hiker is you have to be willing to try new things. Sometimes unintentionally, but I think that's how you figure out what you can tolerate, what you like, what you don't like. Like, for example, I learned that hiking in Crocs is not terrible, so kind of put that in the back of my mind for maybe some future situation that I think about. But another example is that I'm doing a tarp and bivvy for this trail, and I started out because on the AT I had I had a hammock. That's a separate story, but I did buy a 2-person tent for that trail. I just didn't end up using it. I did use it for the Arizona Trail, and I bought that 2-person tent because everybody said, oh, 1-person tent's too small, you're gonna feel cramped, you're not gonna have enough place for your gear, you're gonna want to upgrade later, etc. And I just never found that like I needed a 2-person tent. And on the contrary, I didn't like having to carry the extra weight of it because I didn't think it was necessary. And it was also a bigger footprint to find it a spot to put it. And it just, I don't know, it wasn't for me. You know, I get that other people like it, but so I went down to a 1-person tent, and now I'm trying a tarp and bivvy just because I want to see, well, do I really need tent space inside? Am I fine sleeping in the bivvy and having my stuff outside? The main thing I'm concerned about is kind of like wind-blown rain and high winds, because the way that I set it up, I only really have 3 sides of protection, but I have an umbrella that I use and I bring intentionally to like prop up as a, like, it doesn't cover the full open side of my tarp, but it will cover like my top half of my body. And then, like, worst case, I can always lay, and my bivvy is made splash resistant, water resistant. You can't sleep in the rain in it, but it's made to get splashed on and stuff. But I can also just lay my rain jacket across my legs if I'm worried about it getting soaked through or something, if it's like a really heavy rain. But the upsides are obviously, if I can make it work, it saves a lot of weight. And for me, it was also about setting up easily. I basically, the reason I got away from having the hammock was I didn't get the amazing sleep that people always talked about. I don't know if I'm just not made for a hammock. Or, you know, I slept in it probably 50 times, and it's not to say that I slept bad in it, but I just didn't understand the hype. So, but I got tired of like finicking with, like, you're always having to adjust your setup, because like if you have a tent, it sets up the same every time. Now the ground might be slightly slanted or something, but with a hammock, no two trees are exactly the same distance apart. None of them are exactly on the same elevation. One might be slightly higher or lower. The trunk itself is going to be different diameters, and just user error, you're going to eyeball it, and sometimes you're going to put things too tight or too loose or too far. You're not going to get the tarp centered just right, or whatever it is. And at the end of the day, I didn't want to spend 30 minutes like getting it dialed in. You know, I get some people, that's the fun of it, is tinkering with it and all that, but on a through hike, it just became like a burden. Like, oh, I gotta get this thing set up. And anyway, I wanted something super simple, and I never really liked the fact of like the trekking pole tents with all the like 20 guy lines to hold that thing up, because I figured, like, where am I going to find a place to put 20 guy lines in? Like, if you're at a perfect campsite, maybe, but if you need all these things to keep it supported and you're camping in the desert or something, you know, probably not going to get those stakes in. So anyway, my point is, I like the tarp and the bivvy because it's simple, it's easy to set up, and it's lightweight. And like I said, if I can get it to work in the wind and rain, then it's good to go. Like I said, you learn in the process of that. You learn, like I said, by having a hammock, I learned I don't like tinkering with stuff at night. I want simple, I want easy. So that's where I kind of stayed with the like freestanding tents, because they're heavier, yeah, but they're also, in my opinion, easier to set up. Yeah, I have a trekking pole tent, so I've tried both, but my advice in all this is, you know, take people's opinions with a grain of salt, and don't be afraid to try things on your own. Figure out what you like. That's how you become a better hiker. It's not to say that one way is right or wrong. It's just what you like and what works for you. And there's no shame in whatever that is, whether it's ultralight or something more comfortable. This is the hat that I've been wearing. Kind of got it for two reasons. The main reason I got it was because it's orange, and I wanted something for hunting season to stand out. I didn't really think about it at the time, but it's also good for road walks, for people to see you. I got an orange bandana on my backpack for the same reason. But I was kind of thinking about it, and it's also, well, another reason why I got it was because it's like the official hat or whatever for this trail. And I always try to buy a hat for each trail that I do. So like I'll buy the AT patch hat for the AT, and I had the Arizona Trail patch hat for the Arizona Trail, etc. And I do that because it's kind of my way to support the organization. But in this particular case, I said the thing that occurred to me is it's also good as a marketing. So like the lady that picked me up yesterday to take me into Okeechobee had no idea what the Florida Trail was, and like I met a guy in the Dollar General that kind of talked to me, like I had my backpack on and everything, so I kind of stood out, and he was just had like a passing comment about you know, me walking and hiking and stuff. And I think it's a good way to make other people aware of the Florida Trail, but also just any of these other lesser known trails. Like if you did the North Country Trail, I mean, even the Arizona Trail, the Benton MacKay Trail, any of these other trails, when you meet people in town, it's a good way to like let them know that the trail is there. I like this one because it has the website right on it, so people can go on there, learn about it, and you know, it just in the short term probably is not gonna do anything too crazy, but in the long term, you know, enough people know that this trail exists, then some of them become trail angels, some of them become trail maintainers, some of them might advocate to some extent to make it better. They might donate, they might go out and hike it themselves and want to make it better by, you know, trying to pass some law or some funding or some grant or whatever. It might make the communities better, where maybe they'll stock the isobutane fuels or other hiker things. Maybe, you know, if it gets popular enough, somebody opens an outfitter or a hostel because they see that they can make some money off the fact that people are out here doing this thing. So just kind of something that I would advocate for. If you're gonna wear a hat, go ahead, spend your money on one that supports the organization and also kind of has you be an advocate and somebody to market and let the locals know that it's out there. It's kind of the first real views I've had of the Kissimmee River. Not much, but this area does look better for camping than the sections on Lake Okeechobee, though, because not so much that side, it's pretty steep and really tall grass, but like there's some spots up there, like right kind of right there in the middle. Probably hard to tell on screen, but it looks like it's cut down or just naturally bare. I mean, most of this is, you know, calf high, close to here. Like I said, I think as you get closer out there, you can find you a flat spot that's cut pretty low enough. You could set a tent up, and I would try to get close to the trees for some kind of windbreak, but this trail hasn't been too windy, so I don't think that's too much of a concern, but it's an option. Sometimes these long sections like this, I guess in some ways they're easy, but they're like mentally hard because it kind of feels like you're on a treadmill. Like the scenery to the left hasn't changed, scenery to the right hasn't changed, and no matter how far along I walk on this dirt path, it feels like it just keeps going and extending and extending and extending, and you're not really making any progress. You can't really see any landmarks coming up, or when you're on a more traditional trail, it kind of winds and weaves, or you know, you pass a campsite, or you pass a shelter, or you pass a road, or you kind of just meander through trees, or you go up a mountain or down a mountain. You know, it feels like you're making progress because you're constantly doing something different. Also kind of keeps your mind occupied because you're just having to pay attention more, and there's more change, so there's more stuff to look at. On this, it really just feels like a grind, and like I said, I guess it's the most efficient way to do miles in a straight flat line, but mentally it just kind of drains you, I guess. Taking a 10-minute foot break. They are, I guess you could say they're pretty sore. I think it's just the fact that they're not broken in yet. So I've gone about maybe 11 miles. Feels like I've gone 20. So I'm just laying down in the trail. I'm gonna eat some Cheez-Its. I'm gonna try to eat most of these today as my snacks, just because they're kind of bulky and take up space. And then keep on walking. Little pockets of blue sky. Trying to peek through. It's a little bit not clearer, but less overcast over there. But this is the way that I'm going. Oh, sun broke through for a second. It's a little darker on the horizon, so I don't know if you know, the hard thing about weather on trail is, so I left Okeechobee this morning. My plan is to do about 20, 25, 30 miles, and it's mostly like due west. So by the time I get to the end of the day at like 4:35 or 6, you know, I'm not in an entirely different area for weather, but you know, if you just think about if you get hit with a storm where you live, if you were to drive, let's just say, as the crow flies, 15 miles in any direction, you might be out of that storm. It might be clear, it might be worse. It's hard to say, you know, unless it's like a giant storm front or something like that. But yeah, you just kind of do the best you can. You look at the weather where you're at and try to look at the weather where you're going. But I'm guessing it's probably going to rain because there's a rain chance today, and at least in this area for the pretty much the rest of the week, just like showers and stuff. So find out. For example, the other night when I was sleeping in that gazebo and it was, you know, lightly raining throughout the night, I was texting one of my friends who was up ahead, who's gonna be about in the area that I'm going to tonight. She was saying she wasn't getting any rain at all yet. So, you know, trail miles, she was probably 40 or 50 miles ahead of me, but as the crow flies, it's probably like maybe 20 or something. So, just one of those things, you kind of just hope you outwalk some of the rain and it either misses you in front of you or behind you and you don't got to worry about it. It's not always the case, obviously, but it's just what you hope for. So there's actually, I pretty much know everybody on here. I think Caboose, I think there's 2 of them out here, or, because I know Caboose, but I seen a picture of a guy named Caboose recently, and it wasn't the one I know. But John was a guy that I was hiking through all the way to the Seminole Reservation with. Pepper was the guy that like flew past me on the first day in the swamp. Machine, he was at the church. We watched the playoffs. He left at like 10 a.m. That guy has a YouTube channel. I've never met him. Mossy was at Noble's campsite, and I haven't really seen him since. I don't know that person, that person. This guy, I think, has done the trail a bunch. He leaves a bunch of comments, has the website and everything. Van Gogh, he was at the church and left early. I figured he'd be further ahead. Don't know Naomi. Dukes was with me in the swamp. And then I can't really read that one. The only thing tricky about that logbook is that tells you the date, but it doesn't tell you the time. So the people that came through yesterday, I don't know if they all came in as a group 6 o'clock in the morning, or they all straggled in throughout the day, or the last one got here at 4 p.m. and is just a couple miles ahead. So, but I didn't think there was that many people here recently, so it's good to know that I'm not too far behind the main group, I guess. I don't know if I'll catch anybody today or not, but I think I'll probably run into somebody tomorrow at least. My guess is those people probably like stayed in Okeechobee, and because I did hear about a group that took a zero at like mile 150, which is basically where Okeechobee is. So my guess is most of those people probably came in here about the same time I am, like earlier in the day, and ended up camping, you know, another 15 miles ahead or something. Also, it sounds close that somebody was here like 2 days ago, but in reality, most people are probably doing at least 20 miles a day, and some of the people on there I know are doing 25 or 30 or maybe even more. And they've probably just taken maybe a couple Neros or zeros since I've seen them. So it feels like I'm catching up to them, but if they were here 2 days ago, they're probably 60 miles ahead of me. So you kind of got to keep that in mind. So it's looking like it's about 6.5 miles of road walking. Looks like it's a pretty low traffic road, no shoulder, but grassy and flat on the sides, so we'll see. Can't be worse than yesterday. So this road is almost identical to the one the other day. It's 2 lanes. It's about just as busy, long gaps in traffic, and speed limit might be posted slower. I don't know what it is, but cars are going almost just as fast. But this one's out in the countryside, runs next to some people's houses. You just need some good country folk, because almost every single car, like half a mile back, is pulling over into the other lane, driving around me, waving. So much different from the other day. Just to be clear, I'm not like standing in the middle of the road like forcing people to like drive around me. Like, I'm getting over here with a lot of distance between me and them. But sometimes, like I said, before I can even get over into the grass, they see me from a long ways off, get in that lane around me, and I don't even have to bother getting in the grass. So you know, I'm not playing chicken with the cars or being a dick and making them, you know, almost hit me or something. Believe me, I'm not trying to get hit. So it's just like I said, being out here in the country, people think different, act different. That other road was like a through road, I guess, for people's commutes or whatever. A lot of big trucks and stuff on it, and people just don't care, and they'll blow right past you going 70 miles an hour. And it's really appreciated when people give you the courtesy to not almost kill you. I also just try to wave at the cars, not only because I appreciate them moving over, but especially on like these more like, I don't know if you call this a residential road, but I mean, there's houses, like there's a driveway up there and everything. It's a rural residential road. Because these people probably live along this road or not far from it. And they probably see, you know, if they're doing this road every day, you know, they probably see other hikers coming up and down it. And they probably start to wonder like, well, who are all these people walking down this road? And why do they all have backpacks and wear brightly colored clothes and weird patterns? And, you know, maybe some of them are aware that this is a trail and people are through hiking, but some of them might not, and they go and try to look it up and they figure out what it is. You want people's impression to be good. You don't want people to think, you know, the hikers are trashing up their neighborhood, or they're a bunch of bums, or they're inconsiderate or whatever. Because, for example, there was a house just a little bit back there that I passed, had a sign that said trail hikers, they said watering chair, and they had like a little setup on their like outdoor patio. So they might do stuff like that, or, you know, they might come out here and maintain a section of this trail, join the club, or maintain a water cache. They might be willing to pick you up if you want to get a ride and not walk this road or stuff. So, you know, try to leave a good impression and be friendly. You know, it probably doesn't make a huge difference on those busy roads like yesterday when it's a bunch of truckers and people that probably don't even live there, out of towners, people that live at the RV park and are up in Vermont for the other half of the year. But, you know, I figure it can't hurt to be friendly. So it has started to clear up. I mean, there's still clouds everywhere, but the sun is definitely shining through. You can definitely see my shadow, and it is hot. I think they said the high today was 84, and like the rest of the week it was supposed to be like the highs of 60s. So for whatever reason, the weather's much hotter today. Definitely feeling it in this black sun hoodie. So I'm still on this 6-mile road walk. Probably a little over halfway done, but the sun is just zapping my energy, making me go slow, and not easy doing a lot of road walking and a lot of miles on a new pair of shoes because my feet are really sore. So I was using my umbrella, but it's so windy that I can't really use that. So I just took another short little break here in the shade, got some electrolytes, ate a bunch of Cheez-Its, and about to knock the rest of it out. It's coming up to the end of this road walk, and it's going to put me over 20 miles today. Of course, 4 or 5 of those don't really count because it was just walking from town to where I left off. So progress forward has only been like 15, but I was hoping to go until like 5:30 or 6. And I was hoping that my feet would be feeling a lot better in these shoes. I could crush some miles and catch up to some people, but been kind of dragging ever since this road walk. My feet have just been killing me. I kind of wish it was later because it's only like a little after 1 and I already want to set up camp because my feet are tired. So I think I will probably be stopping early. I'm gonna look at the map and see where the campsites are, but hopefully, you know, 20 miles walking on these things has broken them in. And then tomorrow, maybe my feet will be a little bit less sore. Plus, I think we'll be off the roads for at least a little whiles. And that won't be so hard on my feet either. So, we are finally Kissimmee River, Yates Marsh. Now, there is this dirt gravel still, but I think we are going to be on some like more or less official wilderness trail. So, yay for that. So I laid down here right at the Yates Marsh gate to get off my feet and rest. I look straight up, and there's a wasp nest there and there. So hopefully they're friendly. Taking your shoes off and just moving your feet around and wiggling your toes, and then I'll take this hiking pole and like rub the bottom of these to kind of get the blood to circulate. And honestly, just like even scratching your foot feels so good for whatever reason. It's just what I wouldn't give right now for some ice to dunk my feet in, and then somebody just to massage my feet for half an hour. Oh. So I took a little break under that pavilion. Had some good shade, so I took advantage of it. There's a campsite. And like 7 miles. There's another one like 4.5. And then there's like a little bit of road walking, and then there's another one in 12 miles. This was a day where I had my hiking legs and I was going all the way to sundown and was trying to make the most miles. I'd go to the 12-mile one, but I don't think I'm making it that far. That would put me at like probably 35 miles for today. My feet are killing me. So, you know, it took about half an hour and rubbed my feet, let them rest. Get a short break, and we'll see how I feel when I get to this first campsite and what it looks like. I kind of want to make it to the 4.5 if I can, so we'll see what happens. Like I said, either way, it's probably going to be a short day time wise, you know, but I have done quite a few miles. So there is a gate that goes into this park, or whatever you want to call this thing. It's locked with 2 combination locks, but I guess they give that key to local residents or something that live down that private road, or I don't know. I just got passed by a car going down this thing, so it's just something to keep in mind when you're staying at this campsite. Is even though it's gated off, people can open it and drive into it. Now I don't know if this road goes all the way through to the other side, but it goes in at probably at least the first campsite. This looks like Yates Marsh South. Man, it's got a picnic table in there, and it's flat, open. It's got some trees for shade. I'm gonna go down here to the water source. I guess I'm going to the next one, because saying the water source is here, I'm not seeing it. I mean, there's like a marsh down in there, but I I don't feel like going down the marsh. People said there's 2 big alligators in this area. So there's supposed to be a water cache in a couple of miles on the way to the next one. So I'm gonna go hopefully get water at that water cache and then camp in like 4 miles. Call it a day. Good thing about this Yates Marsh place is that there's tons and tons of places to stealth camp. And good spots too. You can find some stuff like this where you got a lot of tree cover to block the wind. For whatever reason you want a big open field, they got that too. And stealth camping might be good because this place gives me the vibes of some place you would meet a serial killer and they'd throw your body in the creek. This feels like I don't know, weird. This is the water cache just north of the Yates Marsh North campsite, which I didn't even see, so probably not camping there, but I'm gonna see if there's a stealth spot around here. But I definitely need water. So I looked at the radar and there's a kind of a wave of storms, or a line of storms coming through in like an hour, and it's gonna, I think, come through pretty quick, but I wanted to get set up, so I was gonna sit up here near this trailhead, but all the soil and like the wind protected areas is more or less this sand, and it's not gonna really do much to hold a stake if there is gonna be some wind. So as you can see, I got covered in stickers trying to find spots back in this stuff. I think what I'm just gonna end up doing is putting on my rain gear prematurely and then just keep walking. Hopefully it won't be too bad, and you know, just set up after it stops, I guess. So I loaded up on water, and I just don't, I really don't like setting up at trailheads, which is, this is what this is, because that grass right there, I mean, it's still sandy soil, but I think it would be better for stakes. But it's always just like, that's how serial killer stories start. Like, somebody shows up at trailhead at 9 o'clock at night and they get out and they see somebody camping there, just, or people get pissed that you're camping there, or you get woken up from somebody's headlights or loud music, or just whatever. So I try to avoid camping at trailheads, and like I said, I couldn't really find a good spot. So hopefully it's just, it looked like by the time it got to me it's just gonna be rain. So hopefully, you know, like really big lightning, thunder, windstorms, all that stuff, and it blows through pretty quick. And then I mean, the only thing is it'll probably be getting close to dark after that, but I'm gonna see if I can figure something else out in the meantime. You can tell it looks a little nasty up there. I mean, just dark rain clouds anyway. I'm hoping I can time it to where I can find some kind of structure, even like a small rock or just an overhang or something, kind of sit underneath that and chill for an hour, let it pass. I'm gonna have my umbrella, but if it's windy, that thing might not be much use. And I don't really want to sit there and hold it for an hour. So, see if I can find something along this road walk. Going off into Chandler Slough. Still not rained on yet. If I can get into these trees, at least I'll have some kind of cover. And if I'm lucky, maybe I'll even get to the campsite and be set up. Less than a mile away from the campsite, and I'm starting to feel first little bit of raindrops. If I really wanted to, I could stealth camp somewhere in here, but there is a picnic table at the campsite, a water source, and I'm partly just curious if there'll be any other thru hikers. I don't think so, but that would be a nice little bonus. So I did decide to set up earlier than the campsite, and this is kind of the first time I've set this tarp up in anything but calm conditions. And I've got some pretty big gusts already coming in. I tried to pick a good spot, but there's nothing in here that's like really super protected. But I think this thing's gonna blow through. I'm gonna prop that up with my umbrella because it's just caving this thing in, and then I'm gonna put my backpack over there to kind of give it some support. But yeah, we're gonna see how this goes. Like, worst case, I get a little bit wet, but it's not hot, or it's not cold, so it's not gonna kill me. And if it was a nice day, I kind of got a second wind after Yates Marsh there. I would probably keep going, maybe even night hike, just because finally on trails and getting close to my friend to catch up, and at least some of the other hikers. So but I think this is gonna do it for today. Okay, I'm tucked away in my bivvy. Kind of got that holding that, that holding that, and that. I got all the stakes in, and I can hear some rain starting. The wind's already been going, so said hopefully this passes quickly and nothing falls on me. Stakes all stay in. I think it worked out pretty good. I mean, it's still raining, but I think the front with all the wind is past, and it should quit here in a little bit. There's a little bit of splash on this, but I didn't really get anything down here, and all the stakes are good. There's not really any rocks in Florida that I've seen, so I can't really like weigh down that stake with anything. But the idea is I put the opening away from the wind, otherwise this thing is just going to act like a sail. And that's what all this back here is, to keep basically this off of me and give this some structure. And if the wind is all blowing out this way, then all the rain should fall away from the tarp as well. So like you can see that all this is dry right next to me. It's not till you get, you know, out here till you get rain. So I think it's pretty good. Like I said, at worst case, I could always put a rain jacket or something here if I was getting splashed. So this is kind of like a trial run, and it worked out good. I'm glad it was only like for 30 minutes and not all night, so it's possible. I think the only thing that I would really change on this setup is the company I bought this from is called Bora Gear, and they kind of let you customize things because they're a small company. it would be really good to have a tie out on that panel, the back side and this side, and that way I could kind of wouldn't really need to hold everything up with this. Like I could use this stuff to reinforce or to help out, but having a couple of pullouts with guy lines on the three, because I pretty much always set it up like this. It's easy. You stake out the back two corners, put the pole, stake it out, and then you stake the two front ones, and it goes up in like a minute or two. So I might look into that after this trail, either getting them added to this one or order a new one. I'd like this one to be a camo tarp, just because stealth camping would be easier.